Hello gamers, this is Brain from GameBrain.media. Today we're going to play Fishing Planet because it's part of my series of fishing game videos that I'm currently working on. And little by little, inch by inch, everything's sent yard by yard, everything's hard. I'm trying. I'm going to pump out some content. And you'll see why I sound so enthusiastic at the end of the video. Stick around till the end. But yeah, Fishing Planet has been one of my favorite games of all time. From the year 2014 to the year 2022, even into the shutdown years. Right? I spent 2 years after shutdown playing this game. And then both of my friends, one guy went into whatever you call it, a senior citizens home, and the other dude died. Yeah, sad. Broke my freaking heart. A video game friend, you know, it just really sucked. But anyway, after 8 years of playing the game on Discord with two dudes on the regular, an hour, 2 hours every other day, every morning with coffee, you rack up a lot of hours. So we were friends for a long time. We talked about everything. I know all about each of those guys, their kids, their ex-wives, their current wife, blah 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 blah, yabba dabba doo. But that's what the thing is about Fishing Planet. It was a social experience for me. It was one of the games where you weren't so heavily involved like Counter-Strike. Even though I was in a Counter-Strike clan, and we had voice chat, and we had TeamSpeak back in the day, and Ventrilo, yeah. And for Fishing Planet, I was using Discord with these guys. We started out on Steam Friends, and then we started out on, and then we moved over to Discord. But Fishing Planet was a social fishing experience, and I played 2 hours today, and it all came flooding back. When I started chatting with one guy, he was a level 11. I'm level 65. There was another guy, level 100. He invited me to join their club. Apparently, Fishing Planet has created fishing clubs where you can fish with people who you know and trust, just like I did with the two guys that I fished with every morning, drinking coffee. We actually had 10 guys, but only 3 of us were there on the regular. 10 dudes, they might show up 1 day, 2 days a week. Next week they'll show up 3 days. Next week they'll show up 1 day. Next week they'll show up 4 days. That kind of thing. So there was a lot of come and go, but the core aspect was everyone was friendly and sharing information. Hey man, let's go to this particular lake and fish for this particular species. And before we go there, you need to load up with this specific loadout. You got to have this rod. You got to have this lure. You got to have this. I'll give you my bobbers or my markers. And man, I'm telling you, it was so much fun to have a cooperative, friendly environment to play the game in. All right, so today I jumped in the game and just want to show you that here's a little chat window in the bottom left, and I caught a unique bluegill. You know what? Go ahead and play it again after this finishes. Ta-da! See that little chat window down in the bottom left-hand corner? Yeah, you start talking to people, you become friends, and then you help a brother out. I gave him a couple of my green markers, and he was able to catch his trophy bluegill and move on to his next challenge. Speaking of challenges, I've just started playing Russian Fishing 4, and it's very, very different, but very, very similar to Fishing Planet. More about that later. In Fishing Planet, you have a really, really busy user interface, right? If you go look at the top, you got the globe, inventory, shop, mission, sport, clubs, premium, and then you click this and it opens up your profile. That's where you see your game fishing game records, your trophy fish. Here's the leaderboards for see where you stack up against the other people and the fish they've caught at the same locations in a specific period of time. Blah, blah, yabba, dabba, mother frickin' frackin' do. And you have the whole wide world to fish in. If I spin this globe, there's 10 more targets on the opposite side. There are so many lakes, and the majority of them are pay to play. So that's the thing about Fishing Planet and Russian fishing is you get 1 or 2 lakes for free, but then you got to start paying. Now you can see up here, I got 936 gold bait coins. Basically, they're turning dollars into bait coins, or I've won tournaments and that got me some coin, or you won a challenge and that got you some coin. I got 5,500,000 dollars of in-game money, so I can buy every fishing rod, reel, and line, and bobber, and lure, and whatever. But I didn't cheat. I never cheated because I spent 8 years freaking building that stash. And, I don't know if I'm ever going to use that stuff. That's the killer part. So anyway, I looked at the missions section of the interface today, and like I said, it's a very, very busy, in-depth, miniature management, micromanagement environment. And it's almost overwhelming. In fact, it is overwhelming, and it will take you some time to absorb it and get back into it, or get into it at all. This morning I spent 2 hours, and I couldn't remember like 50% of, where's this thing? How do I do this? How do I change my drag? How do I change my reel speed? All these things that they're different from every single fishing game to the other fishing game. Nothing is the same from game to game to game. And, if it was, then all they would be doing is changing the backgrounds and giving you a different lake. Because guess what? There's only a certain number of species of fish in the world. But the differentiation is Russian fishing has species that aren't available in North America. But Fishing Planet, you can fish in Russia, I think. If not, well, there's things that are close enough to give you the variety of international fishing challenge. It would kind of suck to be stuck in the USA only, and all you get is salmon, trout, bass, catfish, crappie, bluegill, and North American fish. So there are South American. The Amazon is pretty fun stuff to fish. Dude, the game is wide and deep. Get it? Deep. It's a lake. It's an ocean. It's a fantastic game. I can't say enough good things about it. But, you know, I've kind of been there, done that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and try to continue to explain this user interface a wee bit. Up here, you got the globe. Well, bang, bang. Okay, here's the globe. And within the globe, I'm going to go to Falcon Lake. So I click this orange target, and it takes me here. And now I can see Falcon Lake, and I can read about some details about that lake. Then I go to the weather forecast for the 3 days that I'm probably going to be here to make back my $5,000 spend for the travel cost it took me to get here. Then I'm going to say, well, let's look at what kind of fish are available here. So the brown trout's here, but it's only a common and a trophy. The unique fish is an Oregon red band trout. Oh, cool. Now, there's also trophy pumpkin, a unique rainbow, and then, well, that's it for uniques. For smallmouth bass, I think that was a later addition to the lake. The rock bass was always there, and it's just a common. The smallmouth bass, they added young, common, and trophies, I think. Maybe they've been there since day one, I don't know. But the red breast sunfish, you only get a common here. On other lakes, that guy comes in a trophy, might even come in a unique version, because that's a pretty common, you know, all of these sunfish and panfish are pretty widely spread. Anyway, just wanted to show you that, you know, we went through the main description of the lake, then the weather forecast, and then this fish species. And if you're following along, you're looking at this on the sidebar. And now we get down to licenses. I have an unlimited license. Those are usually bought with bait coin, and that's this gold, yellow number up here. Some of them cost $50 or 50 coin or 100 coin. I don't know. I haven't played in so long, I forget. But, you know, then you have to go to the inventory tab, and you should have done this before you came to this lake. You should have built your inventory to accommodate the specific species that you will encounter at this particular lake. All right, man. I don't want to keep going because that interface is so deep. All right, I need to point this out. In the inventory tab, you have the backpack. If you're at home, you have access to everything. But if you've already gone to the globe and you traveled to the lake, then you only have access to the items that are, in your backpack. So I only brought one bass jig. So when I went to Falcon Lake looking for the bass, and they broke off my jig and snapped my line, it was a trout that grabbed my bait, or grabbed my lure. But I was so heartbroken because I spent $5,000 to go there, and I couldn't complete the mission. I could have changed up and just started focusing on fishing for the trout, tried to make my money back before I quit. But I just said, screw it, I got $5 million, man. I've been playing this game so long, I have a stack of cash. I just gave up and left here, and then I went over to Mudrunner River, and just because there is a challenge there with the same thing, using a bass jig to get a bass over 4 pounds on a .006 braid. So here it is, and I got the 006 braid. See over here. And then that's my 006 braid, and then a bass jig on a casting reel, and that gets me one of the challenges completed. And if you complete a challenge, you get a little bit of coin. But what's tricky is I noticed that to buy a bass jig, it costs 3 gold coin, but your reward is only 2 gold coin if you complete this challenge. So they're just going to try to suck that away from you. That's what irritates me about the free-to-play game monopoly system, or system. There's a lot of free-to-play games, but they're stupid microtransaction, this, that, and a coin versus the in-game dollar, and, you know, the ecosystem in those games. So anyway, here is my wall of fish. I usually take a screenshot. It's the F12 key. When you're playing a game on Steam, you press F12, and it will add these screenshots to your library. You might have to go and set some settings. You can look that up on YouTube under other people who deal with that. But I got a ton of uniques, dude. And every once in a while, I would take a picture of my keep net, the fish that I kept, my fish keeper. And I would take a picture or a screenshot to remember the setup that I was using when I got all those fish. And it always tells you what lake you got those at. So here's a little bit of that. Let's watch it. All right, so we're going to breeze through this real quick. It's all the screenshots that I have taken, and usually I only take them when I catch something unique, right? A unique variety of fish. And then you might see that I've screenshotted a whole lot of my setups that I used to catch those specific fish for my own personal reference. And I highly recommend that you take a bunch of Steam screenshots. It's the F12 key on your keyboard because you're a PC player. And you know, you can scroll down this whole list, or you can go to the top. Oh, how come I can't get to the top? I just can't stop. And then you got this. And then I can hit a little arrow over here. Bam, 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 bam. Can you believe it? That's a lot of unique fish, dude. Oh, that trophy right here is so awesome. Or the unique right here that I got was so awesome. A 16-pound walleye, an 8-pound unique smallmouth bass, an even better walleye. Come on, dude. It's just so much fun. And then here's my keep net. There's an 18-pound walleye. Well, you can clearly see that there's a point in time where I was chasing a specific fish, and I just kept wanting to get bigger and bigger and bigger and better and better and better fish. So, you know, I went and I cleaned out a lake, and I was using the uni sheet, so I was able to collect every common, every trophy, and every fish that had a unique version of that species at that lake. And, you know, every once in a while I captured my keep net, and the gear that I was using in order to catch all of these fish. Look how many uniques I got here, dude. There's a ton of unique large amount of bass there. A couple 10-pounders, 11-pounders. My record's a 13-pounder. They no longer have that large of a fish. What? That's right. No, they don't. Anyway, you can just keep blowing through these things. Here it is, 11, 10, 19. Oh, well, that was a gar. Another 10-pound, another 10-pound, another 8-pound, another 11-pound, 11. Blah, 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 right? But if I go up here into, you got to be inside Fishing Planet. You can look at your record catches. But the original fishing game, well, the first game I played was the Sega Bass Fishing, but, that was like, we rented it from the video game store, and we probably brought it back 2 days later. We played it for a little while, and then I found it on PC, and I bought it, and it sat on my hard drive for 10 years until I decided to make this series and whip out this series of videos and talk about Sega Bass Fishing. That would have been my first fishing game, but this was my very first serious fishing game. I highly recommend Fishing Planet. Absolutely 100%. You got to get it. And let's go back to the rest of the pictures and talk a little further about the game. Well, all right, so we're going to breeze through this. What more can you ask for? Whoops, sorry. This is my record red deer, 3.9 pounds. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I love fishing for the little panfish and going for those little fat guys. They're amazing and really hard to find and catch consistently and improve. So I want to talk a little bit about the Unisheet. That was the original species and weight tracker. There was a guy who made a spreadsheet that I borrowed this from. I borrowed the start from. I thought I mentioned him in this. Okay, I started with Leo Pad and 4 columns. No. Where is his name? Well, whatever. There was a guy who made a species, a sheet of lake by lake. It listed all the species. Then it listed the rod, the hook size, and the bait that they liked the most. And a lot of people use that to go to those lakes and catch those fish. Well, I wanted to track my records. I wanted to know, did I catch every species at this lake? Did I catch every size of that species? Common, trophy, and unique. And then, I guess, eventually they introduced legendary fish. So I started a spreadsheet. It was on Google. The game developers saw, well, that's kind of an ugly interface. And then they built it into the game. Yoo-hoo! Wahoo! I wish I'd have gotten a little credit for, having invented the unique sheet and the tracking system for, did I get every species at this lake? Did I get every version of that? Common, trophy, unique, legendary. But it is what it is. And here I am, GameBrain Media. You're looking at the variety channel. I also have genre specific for dirt bikes, street bikes, off-roading, four-wheel drive, and racing. Not a lot of content there because I'm a slacker. But I also have troysweb.com where I am really putting content into Pizza Guy DIY. But I'm also hoping to win a lottery and draw floor plans, build a house, build a bitchin' garden with a barn filled with chickens and mini cows and stuff. And I already have a bitchin' kitchen. I just eat there. Have you ever tried filming yourself making food? It's not real fun. Anyway, too long, didn't read. YouTube is a huge platform, and there's 115 to 138 million channels, but there's only 60 million or 87 million videos being posted every single day by active creators. So, it's impossible to make money on YouTube. That's my point. The monetized channels are less than 3.4 or 3 or 4% of all channels get monetized. And all you have to do is go to YouTube and search for, I got monetized on YouTube. And you'll see the people who said, I made $13 my first month. The next month, I made $3. The next month, I made $30. Then I made $3. Then I made 0 and 0 and 0 and 3 and 0 and 0. So, full-time creators are really a minuscule quantity, right? So I'm a retired guy. I'm just looking for a small portion. 1,000 true fans, $12 a year. I'll give you 12 hours of entertainment every month. That's a little less than what you can get on Netflix, but really, how much can you sit in front of Netflix and watch that crap? 1,000 true fans, well, will be 12 grand a year, but you lose 50% of that to buying your own healthcare insurance, paying your own self-employment tax, paying your own income tax on top of the self-employment tax, and blah, 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 yabba doos. You're going to make about 50% of the gross earnings. Oh, and the credit card processors both take 6 to 8%. But then there's also an additional fee. Rather than just a percentage, they take a fee. So basically, you lose 10% of anything anybody donates by the credit card processor or the service, like Buy Me a Coffee, YouTube, or PayPal, etc. And, don't be afraid. Nothing gets saved on my website. You click that Buy Me a Pizza, it's actually Buy Me a Coffee. Same company. You click subscribe, you click donate, that's PayPal. They are credit card processors, CCPs, and they all subscribe to or have to bear under the PCI DSS, Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards, which is data encryption. If you click any of those buttons, it's going to take you off of my website to their website. I never see your name unless you tell me in a note attached to the transaction. I never see your name. All I do is get money in my account from Buy Me a Coffee or from PayPal. So anyway, have no fear. It's all encrypted. It's all secure. It's not me. I'm not trying to jack somebody, dude. I'm not that guy. All right. Hope you subscribe, like, share, comment, and keep up with this fishing series because there's a lot of other games that are very, very different than Fishing Planet. And it's different. It's so hard to say that it's on a grading scale of good and bad or A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're different, dude. And I have found that I have been having so much fun in the games that are a lot less sim, right? Fishing Planet this morning was very challenging. I had to try to remember so much minutia about, oh man, I forgot to bring the right rod. I didn't bring enough lures. I forgot about the backpack. Lures at home versus lures in my backpack. I lost one lure. Boom, game over. $5,000 gone. I could have continued to fish it out and use my other rods, but you gotta build a loadout for each and every individual lake. And some places have a gear bag where I think Fishing Planet introduced gear bags, but that's DLC. So they charge you money to buy something that makes your life in the game easier and makes me likely to play more often. It just goes on and on and on. So some of the arcade versions, just so much fun. I can jump in for 20 minutes and catch 10 fish, 20 fish, and some of them are bombers, dude. So the full sim. Come on, Sega Bass Fishing was an arcade game back in the day. But guess what? That's where the modern tension meter comes from. On every other fishing game there is, it might come from a previous version of a different game. But man, I want that fishing reel USB controller. I want it really bad. That would be so much fun. And what was my point? That the games are all awesome and cool. Sega Bass Fishing was pure arcade. Well, it was cartoonish and early in the development cycle of games. Came from the year 2009 or 2008. Its original release, I can't remember. Maybe 2011. No, I think it was earlier than that, man. Whenever the Dreamcast was around. It was in the 1900s. But anyway, there's that, and then I jumped to Fishing Planet, which is full sim, super complicated, tons and tons of minutia. The user interface is complicated and hard to remember and difficult to learn and come back to if you haven't played in 2 months. You gotta start all over. Not really, but you gotta half start over, I guess. And then there's Bassmaster 2022. Holy crap, that's easy to play. You jump in, you grab a boat, you go park somewhere and start throwing, and you have a fish finder in your boat. It's not hard to find fish, and then you just start banging them out, man. Ultimate Fishing Simulator 1 and 2. It's currently on sale until May 4th. Today is May. Oh man, it's May 2nd. You have 2 days to get Fishing Simulator. I highly recommend you get that. And $2 for 2 games. The 10-year-old version, Fishing Simulator 1, is being remastered to the new Fishing Simulator 2 game engine, and all the DLC is on sale. You can buy both games, and 10 lakes for Ultimate Fishing Simulator 1. They're all going to get remastered for $10. Maybe $11, whatever. I made a video on that yesterday or the day before. All right, so blah, 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 blah. Here, I can never shut up. Thanks, bye.